Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Masked Swingers. Today, very special episode because we are unmasking. We're going to get into the reasons why we masked up in the first place, and then we're going to unmask and share some stories and some things about us you've never heard before. So if you've been a fan of the show, this is the episode you've been waiting for. We're glad you're here. If you're new, we're happy to have you. Either way, don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, let's hop on in. Hey, Layla.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, before we start, I brought you something because I know you always have a long drive,
I do.
and I know you're obsessed with Flint's mints.
I'm obsessed.
So I brought some. So
Yes,
you can take one. So you don't.
Wait, cinnamon?
I brought the 300.
It's like you don't know me at all. Well, you got the max?
It's the maximum one. So you can take one
Here,
right now.
You take one too.
Oh, you're gonna. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Let's challenge ourselves.
So I'm gonna take one too. They're expensive too. That basically gave you like $5 right there.
Thank you so much for the $5.
I have a funny story about them. All right. So I went to like a spontaneous party on Friday. And I brought my Flint's mints because I love just having them for myself, for other people. What's so funny?
It's
You
really
getting through this
spicy.
story as my mouth starts to salivate.
I
guys.
know. We can do this.
So I left. All right. So I left them on the table, kind of like you just did.
Yeah.
And then I walked into another room, came out, and I saw that the Flint's mints had moved, and they were in another room on a table. So then I took them back and like put them somewhere else. And then when I came back again, they were once again moved. And so I was like, man, I think that people are eating my Flint's mints. And again, we love them, but they're not the cheapest mints in the world.
Right.
People.
They have a job to do.
They have a job to do, and they're not super cheap. So I was like, dude, no way. I'm not about to let people just eat all my mints. So then I was like a little kid, and like I took them away and I put them in my bag.
My candy.
Put them in my bag. Yeah, I was such a brat about it. It's like, so I took them away, I put them in my bag, came out, and what do I see on the counter? Flint's mints. So stupid. The host had left a bunch out. And so everywhere I thought every pack of Flints was
yours.
mine.
So you're just stealing all the
And
Flint's
so I
mints?
was taking. So I don't even know if I might have had like 6 left on my pack, and that's a full one. So thank you for hosting an awesome party, and I'm sorry I stole your mints.
It happens all
I owe
the
you a
time.
couple bucks.
I'm like literally drawing out. It happens all the time. If I'm at a party, I hear it all the time. Who has a Flint's mints? Who has a Flint's mints? And I've been hearing that for a while. And so finally I was like, what the fuck is a Flint's mints? Because I get bad cotton mouth at parties sometimes. And then as soon as they gave me one, I was like, literally, who's ready for a blowjob? Because my mouth is so fucking ready. Even now, like I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with the spit? Swallow it?
Yeah,
like some
swallow
crude?
it. Yeah, exactly. Swallow it somewhere. I guess she could have given you a cup too.
I know, honestly.
But it's not dry from the drive anymore, right?
No.
There you go.
No.
So I brought you some. You can have a couple, but you can't have the whole pack.
I'm going to steal it.
Anyway, I would like try to find a discount code to that. I've been trying for a while.
Don't we have one?
They do not. Flint's does not.
I thought we had one. We don't have an affiliate link?
They do some weird thing where you can get Flint's coins, and I have no idea what a Flint's coin is good for.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no, what? They should literally sponsor us. We use them and bring them to all of our parties. Do you hear me, Flint's mints? I'm talking to you.
Flint.
Flint, Mr. Flint. That is your real name.
What if this whole time there's nothing minty about it? It's just like they're made in Flint, Michigan, and it's just like using chemical water.
I know that would happen to us.
Anyway, well, today's a big day, Layla.
Yeah.
What's happening today?
We're going to unmask today.
How you feeling about that?
So my therapist asked me the same question today.
Okay.
And I am excited. I'm nervous. I'm literally 50-50 between nervous and excited. How do you feel?
I'm sweating. I'm like kind of sliding down my chair right now from the sweat that's on my back.
Yeah?
You know, I am a little nervous about it.
Well, yeah, because your family doesn't know.
Oh, dude, my family.
Wait, this is actually a way bigger deal for you. Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's bigger. So I think that what we should do is we should give some background for
Yeah.
people on why we wore masks in the first place. All right. Some background on the podcast. So podcast started out, it was business related. It was like, we should do a podcast to go along with building this app. And we wanted to have these honest conversations about things that really happen in the lifestyle space, right? And it was voice only. initially it was just voice only. It was you and I, and we would record sessions with people, and they would tell these like true fun stories or horror stories about stuff they were experiencing in the space. But it was we never did video because we thought people would be too afraid of telling those stories on video. And so they all use aliases and things like that, right? And then at some point we decided to do video, but our theory was like we should do it with mask on so that the people who were still kind of shy about sharing before would come on and wear a mask and they'd be willing to share the story with a mask on. We've done, I don't know, how many episodes have we done with mask on video?
With masks
What would be
on,
your guess?
I would guess 30.
Probably more because we
Yeah.
did virtual first.
Oh, right.
Hmm.
Right. So 50?
So we've done, I don't know, 40, let's say 40 plus episodes,
Yeah.
right? In all that time, and I don't even know you know this, Layla, how many people, how many guests did we have on that wore masks? Just ballpark. How many?
If I had to guess without like actually
Uh huh.
thinking,
Uh huh.
7, 8,
That is generous.
6,
I think all time we've had 4 guests come on that wore masks.
maybe.
Look at the pause. Look at the
Wait.
pause.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We haven't had a lot of people wear masks. We really haven't. Why do you think that is? People are just more comfortable than.
I think that the people that are open to sharing their experiences and things like that, or that are working in the space, or they're healthcare workers, or they do marketing at AHF or whatever,
Mhm.
they're just like, hey, this is my brand, this is what I'm building, I'm all in on the space, and so there's no reason for them to wear a mask. Like T, who's building pleasure products, that is her business, and people know that about her, right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason for them to wear the mask. The people who were unwilling to come on when it was voice only, like them wearing a mask wasn't going to make that much of a difference to them, right? I think we would have to have been like 60 minutes, dark room, blurred out, alter the voice for some of those people to come on, and they still might not have done it.
Right.
So I think that the people who were going to come on were going to do it anyway, and the people who weren't going to. So then the mask didn't really do much in that
Right.
sense. And then the second reason for wearing the mask was like our own personal stuff. There was you with your kids.
Mm.
And so what were your concerns with the kids?
Well, it's, and that's another thing I was talking to my therapist about today is I want my kids to, look up to my husband and I for living our most authentic lives, and being polyamorous and not conforming to that kind of like boxy relationship in life and all that. Like I want them to look up to us, but I also don't want them to I don't want like their bullies to have any extra ammunition. You know what I mean? Like we all were bullied in school at some point, and I just don't want to provide them that ammunition. But it also has potential to make them stronger, or it has potential to like ruin their lives, right? So I'm still like, oh, I don't really. It's still weird. But I think um, I think another piece of the mask is just kind of like the symbolism in general. Like I do think that I wanted to remain anonymous, but if we really wanted to remain truly anonymous, we wouldn't have used our names. We would have used a mask that covers the entirety of our face, like a
Right.
ski mask.
Uh-huh.
Like we wouldn't have gotten so personal with like where we live and what we do. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't have done that. But I think it's just like living in this lifestyle, we do like have to kind of wear a mask from other people in society because we're judged. Uh, and like, do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I completely agree with you, right? There was
Yeah.
like this, hey, we want to keep it a little separate from our personal lives to some extent, right? If we
Hmm.
can. But as like the audience has grown, friends will find us online and be like, hey, is this you? And then the next thing you know, like when I would like people, I expected there to be a lot of judgment,
Hmm.
right? From friends that found out about it. And instead they started watching all the episodes. They started finding
Yes.
stuff out. They started being curious what you looked like.
Right.
My younger brother started watching it, and his first question was like, "Man, Layla looks kind of hot. What's her face look like? I want to see it."
You're
Right?
gonna know
So I was surprised by that.
soon.
Um, Also with like, I know for me, I was concerned about clients
Right.
finding out, and the more and more clients found out about it, the more they were just like, "How can I help?" Some of the
Mm.
clients wanted to be on the show and wanted to come on to like share their perspectives on dating and culture and things like that. So I was like, man, I'm really, really limiting it. But here's the other thing. When we first started the podcast, it was called Let's Be Candid. And what we talked about, which I will say, if you go back and listen to episodes like 1 through 10, people, it's throwback stuff. I don't even know if it's on Spotify anymore. We might have to post it on
Honestly, we
Discord.
need
We
to
might have to post the
archive
link.
so many things.
But it's a lot more raunchy. Like it was definitely more sexually forward,
Mhm.
I'll say. But the thing about non-monogamy is that, like, the sexuality part of it is just a part of it. And I think over time, we've leaned into so many different aspects of this. We've been talking about transitioning. We've been talking about mental health. We've been talking about healthcare. And when Layla and I sit with the number of subjects on it, like we have a spreadsheet and it's all the subjects we want to have and the kind of guests we want to have on. So many of those are like adjacent or apply to this space, but they're not really about what you did on Saturday night.
Right.
And so from that standpoint, the mask didn't make as much sense anymore.
It's making us the masks are making us smaller, and we're ready to just expand.
Yeah.
We're breaking out of our shell and our masks.
You know what's so funny about the bullying thing you just said?
What?
It's not even like your kids understanding what their parents were up to when they're older, because they're gonna get that, they're gonna be fine with it. It is like the bullying that they have to go through right now
Mm.
that is what held you back,
Right.
which I think says more about other parents.
Right. Because that was something else my therapist said was, how is it going to feel, for example, if, you know, um, your son's friends' parents come up to you and or say to, his friends, "Oh, you can't hang out with so and so,"
Uh-huh.
and then my son says, "Oh, I'm not. They said I can't hang out with them." Good. We've weeded out the people that we probably don't want in our lives. That's going to keep you closed minded, and that's going
Right.
to keep you, closeted from being your most authentic self. What does that look like for you?
Right.
So I think it's naturally going to weed out the people out of our lives that perhaps it would have taken a lot longer to weed out.
Exactly. I think so too. I think
Hmm.
so too. All right. Now, can I tell you my biggest concern with this though is like when I really sat with it, it was like, man, if I was I keep putting myself in this framework. Like if I were gay, right? I'd like to believe that I would be like very open about that. I would be um like there's certain CEOs or chiefs of marketing on Wall Street that are gay and these really strong professionals, right? There's athletes that are that way. And I always like to believe that I would be like that if I were gay. But I feel like like somewhat in the closet now, right? And I think part of that is like I don't have the type of family that is it's like so many families are like I came out and then my parents they were initially upset and then eventually they came around. That is not how my family operates. I don't expect that to be the outcome here. But I read something recently about like the 5 things people wish they did when they died, and they talk to a lot of people that have these not near death experiences, but they have like terminal illnesses and stuff, and they'll interview them towards their death, and they'll say like, what do you wish you'd have done differently?" And they usually name stuff like, "I wish I would have worked less," right? Or "I wish I would have spent more time with my friends." But the number one thing tends to be, "I wish I just would have had the courage to live my life the way I wanted to versus doing what other people expected of me." And that's the number one thing constantly, and it's just so wild how much in life we hold ourselves back because 'cause we're worried about, like, "Hey, who's gonna hire me if this goes wrong?" Or, "How my parents are gonna accept this? What are my friends gonna think?" All these conversations that get in the way. And so I think for us, we've been, like, leaning into, like, really difficult conversations, talking about some really awesome stuff, but this one thing was happening that was, like, fun, and we were, like, doing our best with it, but it didn't really align with, like, the authenticity that we really have,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And still, that parent conversation's coming.
Yeah. Are you going to talk to your family before they find out, or never talk to them ever again?
So we're recording today. I know. So we're recording today. I'm kind of like my goal is to just kind of let it happen as it happens. My coach has always been saying, don't make tomorrow's issues today's problems." So, we can just if it comes up, trust that I can handle it. At some point, happy to have that conversation.
Do you suspect that they'll like cut you out?
I have no idea how they're
Because you were
gonna
also
treat it.
surprised by how they handled your family member who needed help. That surprised you. So
That was very different.
this might surprise you.
I think that the way I would handle it is like, this is how I live my life or this is how my relationship is. If you want to ask me any questions about it, then great. Otherwise, like we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. How does that feel though?
Saying it like that?
Or just like in general, like how are you feeling? Like
Uh
this is I imagine this is scary. I'm scared. Can we just be fucking honest for a second?
I think that um I'm thinking before I talk.
Yeah.
They're gonna do whatever they do with it.
Yeah, but don't you still have that thing that I feel like all of us have where we like still want to make our parents proud, or is that
Yeah,
gone?
and I don't know what that is. And I want to bring on someone who understands like child parent dynamics because I'm almost 40. There's no and I talk to my friends sometimes like, man, why do we still care so much about what our parents think? And then does that go away at some point, or does my 65-year-old dad think about what his mom thinks about him? Right? And I'm deeply curious. Do you think about what your kids think about you?
Like,
Does it go both ways?
yeah, of course. Of course. I'm constantly thinking like, am I being a good mom? Are they proud of me? Are they, oh, they're mad at me. Is that my fault? You know what I mean? Like I have parents guilt. Mom's guilt is a real thing. So I have guilt all the time. So I'm constantly thinking, how am I being perceived by my kids? And then how am I being perceived by my parents?
Right. So you're writing the sandwich. You're in a you're in a
Yes.
you're in a like looking good conversation sandwich.
Right.
Do you think okay, this is wild. I I really do want to talk if you guys know someone who you feel like has mastered this or that coaches this, let us know because I want to have them on the show because they
Yeah.
figured something out.
Yeah.
But it is wild to me that I don't think like baby eagles out there are like, I wonder what my mama eagle thinks about me. Or when they are adults and they're flying around catching a bird, they're like, I wish my mom was here to see me catch this fish out the water. So it is really weird.
That is a really cute observation and wonder of like in curiosity. I wonder if animals are like, Mom, look what I can do. And like a little like calf like jumping and be like, Mom, watch.
And see this on my guys on my guest list, dreaming guest list is like a couple zoologists because I do have such deep questions about animals because perhaps baby elephants do worry about what their
Right.
parents think about them, and orcas do worry about what like I don't really know how we'd figure that out, but it is a wild thing to me.
Yeah.
Um so anyway, that's where we're at with this
I'm
right now.
yeah.
And we're gonna see how it goes. And so the goal today, people, is like we're gonna unmask and then have a conversation, and we're gonna have a series of conversations this episode and the next episode of subjects that we have just not opened up about on the podcast before.
Yeah. You're gonna get to know us on a deeper, more personal level,
Yeah,
which is also a
exactly.
little
Which
scary.
is it's like an entire project of unmasking.
Yep. We're gonna do
Mhm.
this. We're encouraging all of y'all to go out there and to be your most authentic selves and to live true and loud. And it's time for us to kind of practice what we preach and just fucking dive straight in.
I'm just gonna say we've been practicing it, but just like on the podcast, doing it. Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is, I'll say this. All right, before we unmask, people have been finding us in public, and they'll be like, "Are you Brian from the show? Are you Leia from the show?" Like, it hasn't been stopping anyone who knows us from
Hmm.
seeing us. It just created like somewhat of a barrier,
Hmm.
right? Plus, I promised my wife I would do it. That was a whole conversation. So shout out to my wife for being supportive. She likes when I shout her out.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Um, and shout out to all the friends and the family members who have found out thus far and have been, really supportive of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had more support than the opposite of support. I've had, when my parents did find out, they weren't thrilled. They didn't talk to me for a while. Then they were cool with it. Now they'll ask very surface questions. That's about it. Um, but I don't know. I just think I'm just ready. I just like want to just fucking do this already.
All right, then we'll pause.
Okay.
We're gonna pause this right now, and then so we're gonna do this. It's gonna be in part two, though, people. So we're gonna cut this one short right now, amp ourselves up, and then when we come back, you're gonna come back to the unmasking of the mass swingers.
We're just gonna be regular swingers.
Pause. I know now we're just now we're just,
The
now
regular
we're just like
swingers
regular
podcast.
open relationship people.